After 8 years of looking the exact same, I am finally changing how my mascot looks. So you may know Red here. He has red hair, red cloak, white gloves, grey shorts, grey boots. But he wasn't actually intended to look that way forever. See, as you could probably tell, Red was heavily inspired by 1920s style animation, specifically Steamboat Willie. I'm a massive fan of that genre and that animation art style. So when originally designing him, I basically styled him with that thought process in mind. I'll make him a black and white character, but I wanted him to have a kind of unique spin, so he always had the red outline that you see, and he always wore the kind of red cloak. But over time, I started developing his story, basically the thing that would encompass why he's black and white. Obviously he was inspired by the 1920s style, but I wanted there to be a reason. You know, why did he have a red hair outline and a red cloak, but the rest of him was kind of white and grey? And really, for the past 8 years, his design has remained practically the exact same. In terms of build and proportions, he's always had the three-pronged hair that goes out, he's always had the pie-cut eyes, and the body shape more or less has stayed the same, although he's shrunk and kind of stretched a wee bit over the years. The very first story for him that I ever wrote, and a lot of you might not know this who've joined the channel recently, but for you Dreams people, you'll know, the very first story I ever wrote is Red and the Phantom Castle, and the basic premise of this is that the island that he is on is drained of colour, and he has to journey from one end of the island to the other to save his queen, and as a kind of byproduct of that, he ends up restoring colour to the island. And there kind of lies the issue. Red has always, been basically discoloured, except for his cloak. Now, in the attack, when the island is drained of colour, he loses the colour of his hair, but a story element is that the cloak retains its colour. So he always has white, red, grey, and then his skin is white. So this means that at the end of the Phantom Castle, when he restores the colour to the island, everyone gets their colour back. And the issue is that he still looks like he doesn't have any colour, because his cloak was always red, his outfit was always grey, and his skin was always white. This was a design choice that basically, once you take away the background of everything being in black and white, the character kind of becomes a little one note. Sure, his hair and his cloak still make him a little distinct, obviously, in black and white, and then you've got the red that kind of cuts through. But it was never really intended to have such colourless apparel. Now, I should also say that Red was originally drawn 8 years ago, back in, technically more than 8 years ago, but it was around 8 years ago where I started developing the story of the Phantom Castle. And when I finally got the chance to create it, I created the game in Dreams, which you're probably currently seeing behind me, and the unfortunate things about Dreams is that it has limitations. One of these limitations is that you can't add a border to a character. Now, Red works in 2D because when you draw him, you can draw him with a red hair outline. A 3D model is a lot more difficult, although not impossible. That we've come to realise that you can use programs to give that character an outline of red hair, and therefore he gets his hair. But Dreams has the limitation that you can't really add this properly. This meant that up until very, very recently, Red actually never has red hair. It's always just white with no red border because we couldn't add it. This kind of led to a bit of a running joke in the Dreams community of people being like, why is it called Red? Why does everyone keep talking to him as if he has red hair? And I'd be like, it doesn't translate to a 3D model in Dreams. Eventually, recently, I did have help from Energy, who managed to work in a way to give Red a slight red outline on his hair, although it's far from perfect, but that's a different story. Basically what I'm trying to say is it didn't make sense for Red as a character to just be in a complete grey apparel. Especially when he's the Queen's Knight, you would think that he would probably have a bit nicer clothing. So I'm going to pop up this picture. This is basically the very first model of Red that I made in Dreams, where it basically has mittens, grey shorts and grey boots. A few iterations later, for the Cursed Isles, which is the sequel to the Phantom Castle, Red has white gloves, grey shorts and black boots. I've always kind of had an issue with the Cursed Isles look, mainly because the grey shorts and black boots kind of makes him look like he's like attending a school with a dress code, which again is a bit bland, it's a bit one note, and just it's not very fun to look at. So recently I sat down and tried a bunch of different coloured palettes on him. Tried different boot colour, tried different shorts colour. For story wise, he always has to have the red cloak, which gave me some kind of colour limitations because his shorts and boots had to kind of work with the hair and the cloak. And I didn't really want it to contrast with that. So I kind of had to work a way around it. However, I think with what we've ended up with is actually pretty good. So what I essentially ended on was a slightly pastel blue, still kind of mixed in with grey stonewash shorts. That adds a wee bit of colour to the shorts and makes it a wee bit more interesting. And for the boots, we went for a dark brown. Now I'm trying to decide between light soles and dark soles. No pun intended with that. I meant the soles of the bottom of his boots. Still up in the air about that, but we'll figure it out. But because the very first game that's coming out is Paper Red in the Spirit Sync, which is a prequel to basically all these stories that I've just talked about, we had to figure out a way to make sure that the colour palette worked in that, because obviously I think with the 3D model you're seeing here, it looks pretty good, but we needed to make sure that it looked pretty good in the paper version. And honestly, I'm quite happy with the paper version as well. I think it works. I think it injects a lot of characteristics and visual enjoyment to the character as well. And of course, now because in the Phantom Castle, now that we actually see him regain colour, he goes from grey trousers and boots to blue trousers or blue shorts and brown boots. We actually see him get his colour back, which means it kind of works as a whole, which I'm very happy about. I've always been quite hesitant to change Red in any capacity. Palette is not too bad, although I've been working with him for about 8 years with that same palette, so it was difficult to kind of come to the decision of changing him. And honestly, I think my fear of changing him has kind of stifled my creativity when it comes to him, because I'm so unwilling to experiment and allow him to evolve. But that's something that I'm working on, so don't even worry about it. I'm going to continue to evolve and change him until I really think we've managed to hit the character's image nail on the head. But I'm happy to say, for now, I really like the change. The pastel blue shorts and the brown boots really do bring a whole new element to the character, so I hope you like it as well. But that leads me to, what did you think of the change? Do you prefer him in his grey outfit? Would you have changed a completely different colour? Or, you know, do you like the updates? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, thank you for watching and have a nice day. That's the first time I've ever said have a nice day, but have it nonetheless.